This isn't going to be your typical video, guys. This is not going to be your typical video, guys. Welcome back once again to the channel. You know me by now, obviously. You guys have been hanging out. Dark Visions has some problems in Brave Exvius. I was looking forward to it for a long time. Still do enjoy it, but it's got some things that need to be ironed out. So this is going to be not really a ranty video at all. It's just going to be my thoughts on Dark Visions. I'm going to have my thoughts on the state of the game in its entirety, because that's going to be an entirely separate thing on how I feel about the game. Because a lot of you guys have been commenting, you seem a little lackluster compared to usual. You seem a little like not as into it, and I'm just kind of not. But that's a different topic. It's not because of Dark Visions. That's because of just Neo Visions. But that's a whole different topic, guys. So thank you guys for coming and hanging out. Once again, hopefully you guys are staying safe and doing well out there in the world with yourselves. And thank you guys so much for the support on Patreon as well as YouTube channel members. It helps out so much by everyone who's been affected by random stuff from the word you can't say on YouTube without getting demonetized, the old virus, you know, the thing that affects a bunch of people. So even me. But thank you guys so much. So let's talk about Dark Visions for a minute. Let's pop over here and we'll pop back and forth between the big camera and the little camera. Dark Visions has a couple of things that that are a big problem. So number one that we're going to talk about, we saw it last time. I haven't actually finished Dark Visions yet because I was in there like swimwear the first time. We did some on stream, but the first one here, the biggest one, are people who just blatantly cheat. Blatant cheaters. Capping scores in Dark Visions. All these people, anyone who's capped a score, blatant cheat. All right, this is yeah, they got dealt with. They got their points, their rank taken away or whatever before the rewards or whatever. This is kind of lame. It's just kind of like, it doesn't like disincentivizes people to see how far they can climb. You don't know who's cheating, who's not. Obviously, anyone with a cap score is blatantly cheating. The reason that people with a cap score are blatantly cheating means that you've capped damage on turn 1 with no damage taken. No damage taken is not hard. Killing a boss on turn 1 is not hard. Defeating the boss on turn 1 is not hard. But hitting max chain, turn 1, no damage, max damage, not just killing the boss, but max damage when the highest burst damage potential is really turn 3, turn 2, somewhere around there. It's just not really done, and the bosses were designed in a way really to avoid this from happening, from avoiding people being able to cap scores, because that makes it so ties happen. And there's people out there, like last time, you can't cap damage on turn 1. Turn 2, turn 3 with Dragoons and Sid, because those characters have some of the highest burst, if not the highest burst damage in the game still. Yes, but even with like someone like Advent Children, AC Cloud and stuff, capping damage on turn 1, it's just not happening. So anyone who's you know, capped or even below by 2k, right? Anyone who's not even below by 2k, because that's minus 1,000 for one turn 2, minus 1,000 for turn 3. These people are all pretty much blatant cheat. These people up here, blatant cheating. Blatant cheating. It's not the biggest deal because they do get taken away, but it's just kind of like it ruins the sanctity of the. It doesn't really. I don't know. It just kind of, it's off-putting. It's off-putting. You know, people are trying to climb and stuff to see where they are. You don't know when you can stop, when you want to go, etc. It's a weird thing, sort of thing. It makes the event less enjoyable. That's the smallest thing about Dark Visions that is that I have a problem with. The other thing I have a problem with is actually the event itself in a lot of ways. Number one is the quality of life stuff that we haven't gotten added yet, and I kind of was with it. I was kind of with it for the first Dark Visions. I was like, okay, you know, give them. I'm kind of a guy who'll give them a pass, right? But this is a huge deal, right? When just because of the way that the content is designed with these preemptive, especially because of the preemptive battles that happen, where you need to go and be immune to a certain element, right? And you have the gear. Some people do, some people don't have the gear. But if a person has the gear to get in there and be immune to wind element, and then they need to be immune to earth element, and then need to be immune to wind element again. A lot of the times, people are using the same characters, right? You're using the same mages, right? You're using the same physical damage dealers. You're using like Zon and stuff to tank and stuff, and you have to swap that gear out. So say I want to do this boss here again. Let's say he had a preemptive attack and he's like preemptive earth attack or something, right? I don't think this boss specifically does. Maybe he does, I can't remember. But you would need to go in here and you would need to be preemptively immune to wind or whatever it is. Or, yeah, earth. Whatever he attacks you with. Whatever he preemptively attacks you with. You need to gear out to be immune to that stuff. And it's a defense down boss. So you need to bring a team that's got the element advantage to be immune to that, and you need to be doing physical damage. But then later on, you're going to go up to a boss like this, and you're going to need to bring in the same physical team that is going to be need to be immune to something separate, or you're going to need to bring a magic team that's immune to something separate. And a lot of the times these elemental gears, they overlap, and what you find yourself, because gear doesn't save through each party, there's no preloaded parties, you can't save them or anything, you're literally constantly swapping just literally the same gear to a bunch of different characters, and it takes a bunch of time. It takes a bunch of time, and it's really dumb, right? Because if I go through here and beat this, right, I need to be preemptively immune to, whatever it is, like water, and then I need to be immune to earth, and then I need to be immune to water again, and then I need to be immune to earth again, and then when I get into area 3, finally, I need to go back and use the same party. Need to put all the wind and gear back on my physical party, and then need to put all the water immune gear back on my magic party, and then all the wind gear back on my physical party, and then all the water gear back on my magic party, and then all the wind gear back on my physical party, over and over and over and over and over and over and over. And it drives me insane. It drives me actually insane, because that shouldn't, I'm using the same units for me anyway. I know a lot of people use different units, but for any sort of magic damage battle, I use Shuang Lu Xinglong, right? Which, cause that I have it, whatever. It's very elemental. You can imbue them, so I can use them. Insane burst damage. I can bring them in every fight because I can just imbue them for whatever type I want. But those characters and every character I'm bringing, they still need the elemental resist. So I have to swap back and forth and 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 back and forth just to use the same characters. I'm not even changing my team. I'm using, that's why it blows my mind. I'm not even changing my team. I'm not changing my team. I'm using the same characters, and it's taken me 10-15 minutes to use the same characters on a fight that's the same fight kind of that I did 2 fights ago, right? Because I'll bring a team, make them all water immune or whatever. Okay, beat that fight. Sweet, I geared up the team the first time. Water immune, boom, gone. Then I'll go do a different fight, and I have to swap some of the gear off to put it on my other team, because my physical team needs to be lightning immune or whatever, or earth immune in this case, I think, for this Dark Visions. And then I'll go to do the next boss, and I need to bring my magic team, and they need to be water immune again. So I have to go back, and I have to go back and change all of my stuff for the team I just got done using. I have to re-equip the same team that I just used. It blows my mind. It's crazy. That needs that quality of life. We have to have it. It's crazy. It's crazy. It makes the event take 20 times longer than it probably should, honestly, right? Because there's not that many things, especially if you bring in the same units. There's 3 different types of battles. There's, every Dark Visions revolves around 3 different elements for the most part. So if you just set up 3 teams for those 3 elements for physical, and 3 teams for those 3 elements for magical, and you can swap back and forth willy-nilly, great, that's fine, right? You still have to set up 6 teams, so it does take a little bit of work, but it's not going to be 15 different teams that you're setting up constantly over and over and over, and rewriting them over and over and over and over and over and over and over. In some of those fights where we're talking about 6 different teams, a lot of people like me, I'm bringing like 2 or 3 different teams. I just imbue different elements, and instead of just like gearing up 2 teams, I'm gearing up 15 teams 15 times over. And that's not even counting for the fact if I try to go back and get a higher score, that is another time I'm re-gearing my entire team for another encounter. So if I went into area 2 and I got, the reason I haven't done Titan yet is because I want to work on getting more damage on this guy. I just beat this guy, and then I was like, I don't want to, and this is why this part of the video is in here. I just beat this guy. If I want to go and fight Titan now, I have to go and re-gear my team for a different battle, right? This guy I need to do lightning damage. That's magic based, and then I gotta go do Titan, and I need to do magic damage that's wind based. I'm gonna have to bring different resistances. I'll beat Titan, and then if I want to go back, I have to re-gear my team up again to go try to get a higher score in this guy. So I don't do that right now because it'll make it take 60 times longer, right? That's a huge thing. That's a huge deal, in my opinion. I think that needs to get changed. It needs to get changed. Now, the other thing I have a problem with in Dark Visions is, honestly, I have a problem with some of the scoring mechanics, right? We knew that they were coming. We know there's going to be different ones, and we know they get changed from time to time. But these ones in particular, I don't think they're like necessarily game breaking. I just think they're kind of dumb and implemented in a weird way. But we always knew that they were going to be like this. So most damage dealt in one turn, I have no problem with that mechanic as a criteria that you're scored on. That's fine, right? In game 2.147 billion damage or whatever it is for max 30,000, fine, whatever. That's the threshold. That's what we want to judge people by. Great. Damage received, I don't really have a big problem with that mechanic either. Yeah, it's a little bit weird. It just kind of means, you know, bring a dodge tank to tank physical attacks and then make everyone elemental immune. That's fine. I understand why that is there. It's there to make it harder to actually hit that damage, right? Because if you have to gear more defensively, it makes it harder for you to do more damage because you're taking off physical damage killers or true double hand or attack percent or whatever. You have to trade off some of your damage. So you don't take the damage from the boss itself. So you have to increase your survivability, which lowers your damage, so it makes it harder to hit both those thresholds. I understand why that's there. That's fine. Times KO'd is whatever. That one's easy. I have no problems with that. The biggest ones I have a problem with are turns for a clear and biggest chain. I think these things are so dumb on the way that they're put in. Number one, I'm going to go over turns for a clear. Turns for a clear, I don't think it should start right away, turn one, and then you start losing points. There's going to be a one in the future where it's like number of limit bursts used. It doesn't start deducting points for using limit bursts right away. It's not as soon as you use an LB minus points, because that just kind of makes it so you can't use limit bursters, right? It's like it varies from different battle, but it's like after you use your 4th limit burst, you lose 1,000 points. Then your 5th limit burst costs you 1,000 points, and your 6th limit burst costs you 1,000 points. I think it would be better for the game, and it would make team parties and compositions greater if it was. Maybe different for each boss, or it started turn 2 or turn 3, you started losing points, right? Turn 1 just means who can do the most damage on one. You have like CGLB characters, finishers like Regina and stuff. Anyone who needs to ramp up to do big damage, this kind of just knocks them out of Dark Visions entirely for a while, outside of needing to do something on the later bosses where you still use stuff like Sid, and that's a trade-off there, and that's fine. But this one is the lesser of the two offenders, but I think it still knocks out way too many units from being good in Dark Visions. Primarily a lot of the mages in the game, and this kind of ties in with the mage thing. Mages in Dark Visions suck. Mages suck, period. I've never liked mages. If you're a fan of mages, I'm sorry. I think mages are terrible, but this event, totally magnifying glasses, shows you exactly all the problems with mages in Brave Exvius. So this is a small thing, a small side tangent, but it has to do with the number of turns cleared. Most mages, they need to unlock a skill, and then they have this ramping damage thing. You're not killing anything on turn 1 with a ramping damage mage. That's why Shuanglu Xinglong is so prevalent. It's not because they're inherently broken for magic damage. They're broken for magic damage in comparison to every mage in the game for turn 1, because every mage in the game needs to unlock their quad cast and then stack their chaos wave damage and do all this other stuff. That's not good for Dark Visions. There's very few mages who are very good in Dark Visions. A lot of them, there's going to be a best mage for sure, but none of them inherently are just popping off, boom, big damage right out the gate, right? We'll see stuff like Rem and Ace and stuff, the newer versions of mages who are able to do that, but not so many mages right now can do that. The other thing that's pretty bad with mages is single target fights and most mages doing AoE damage. I think this should be a very easy fix for them to implement, but we'll get to that in a minute here. Let's talk about the biggest chain. I think the biggest chain is the worst mechanic in Dark Visions because you need to hit chain 100, and this basically says bring a roll ray or don't do this, don't hit this criteria. That's literally what it says. It says bring a roll ray of some kind or don't do this criteria, right? Even something like pentacasting, if you pentacasted Stardust Ray with 2 people, that's 100 hits, but you still don't hit 100 chain, you hit chain 99. Think about that. If you pentacasted Stardust Ray, which is the second highest hitting chain family that's prevalent in the game, Stardust Ray 10 hits, you could pentacast it with 2 people and it still wouldn't hit chain cap. It's literally bring a roll ray or you don't cap. That is so dumb. This needs to be lowered from 100 to like 50 or something because it's just bring a roll ray. The mechanic, that's all that it is. That's not fun. That's not interesting. You're not building team. You just bring a roll ray. That's literally all it is. Everyone just brings some sort of roll ray chainer. Just have some dude who's there and then they roll ray. That's it, right? Bring Fid, make someone a roll ray. Bring Elena and have her a roll ray. How many people have you been watching people do Dark Visions? There's like always just like a random Elena or an Aurora Frivia. I do this too. Random Elena, random Aurora Frivia. Madame Adele has it now too. Just who's got a roll ray? And just put this person in there, and that's literally they're in that party to do a roll array. That's it. That's how you hit that chain. You have to do a roll array. That is the dumbest mechanic ever. The last thing I want to talk about here for mechanics is this stupid AoE. The stupid AoE mechanic with your cast stopping when a boss dies. This is the dumbest thing ever, and there's a very, very easy fix for this. So if you guys don't know, if you use an AoE skill, if you're like multicast, like double cast, triple cast, quadricast, a skill that is an AoE skill, so it targets all enemies, if all the enemies die, they go to 0 HP and die, you're gonna lose 1 to 2 of those casts. Your character will just stop casting. They'll just stop casting. However, single target attacks, they'll still cast into the dead body of the enemy over and over and over and over. So what does this mean for mages? It means mages are primarily AoE damage, whether it's Xuanlu Xinglong. For the most part, a lot of the mages are AoE. There are a couple single target ones where we have like not Livid Shantotto, but Wizardess Shantotto. It has single target damage, but the vast majority of them are AoE. There's some other, AoE chaining physical characters, but the predominant source of this problem is from mages. So mages have to ramp up, so they're bad for turn clears, and then they do AoE spells, and they love to quadricast. So they quadricast AoE. They'll kill the boss, in the first 2 hits or something, correct? Because you're bringing your big defense break, you're bringing your big magic buff, you're bringing killers. You'll kill the boss in your first 2 casts, and instead of quadricasting, now your mages are dual casting. You can't hit the 2.147 bill damage when you're casting half your spells. It's dumb. It's dumb. Not to mention the problem if one of them's single target, one of them's AoE. The AoE will stop, but the single target will still go, and then you'll break your chain, and then you'll fail the biggest chain thing as well. Now, there is a mechanic in the game to solve this issue. They've done it before. It's on almost all of the Chamber of the Vengeful Trials. Just lock the boss's HP at 1, right? We've seen it before where they the boss, you'll kill the boss and their HP locks at 1, and you go, oh no. And then they kind of self-destruct at the start of their turn. That's what they should do for all the bosses in Dark Visions. Make it so no matter whether you're doing AoE, single target, whatever, you'll do all of the damage. You can still hit the damage cap, you can still do the chain thing if they want that in there, you still have the KOs, turns cleared, damage received, all of that stuff is the same. But if you lock the boss's HP at 1, it prevents them from dying, and so the AoE skills will still go off, and then you'll be able to, mages won't have this crazy drawback of just being absolute garbage tier at garbage tier dumpster fire at everything in Dark Visions, because they have to ramp up their skills, stop casting halfway through if they're AoE mages. It's just a lot of these things that I take issue with is it cuts out a large portion of the characters that people can use, right? You need to bring an AoE, a roll array chainer. You need to bring single target damage. You need to bring freaking Xuanlu Xinglong or nothing else, right? That's just what it is. That's just what it is. The KO thing, the damage in 1 turn and the damage received, those are fine. The turns cleared and the biggest chain thing, to reiterate, those are awful. I think they're terrible. The turns cleared one does go away. They replaced that for the Lemon Burst one, but the biggest chain one still is there, I think. Maybe it goes away, maybe it gets hit by a weakness or whatever, but those are just terrible. Terrible, terrible, terrible. If you want to keep them in there, that's fine. I think it would be interesting, right? You could make it different Dark Visions. Maybe you need to chain 80, maybe you need to chain 50, maybe you need to turns clear counting from 3 and onwards or 2 and onwards. You could bring the 1 and onwards back every once in a while if you want to, but having it be the same thing for every Dark Visions, it just makes it so a very small subset of units are very, very, very good. And the second subset, they're not okay, they're just, you just don't use them. So it's there's a small sub of units that are good. Everyone else is pretty dumpster fire tier, especially with the chaining thing. Think about it, that blows my mind. You could have 2 characters pentacast Start Astray, the highest chaining hit thing, that's not named Aurora Ray, and it still doesn't clear the mission with pentacast. Pentacast Start Astray. You need, what? Crazy. Blows my mind. But that's my Dark Visions thing. I didn't want it to be ranty. I do like the event, but the gearing thing, it destroys me. And then I would like to see some changes to the criteria for the ranking. That's going to be the video for today, guys, though. So thank you so much for coming and hanging out. Hopefully you'll be interested in the Neovisions one, because the Neovisions one is really how I feel and why I've been kind of a little bit more off of FFBE, because it kind of feels pointless. So if you want to know why I feel like it feels pointless, look forward to that video. We're getting into that one probably this weekend at some point. But thank you guys so much for spending time here. Thank you guys for the Patreon as well as YouTube channel membership support. I'll be working on a bunch of stuff. I had to take a small little hiatus for a lot of different reasons, but thank you so much. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care, guys.